Hello everyone. Just wanted to put together a quick video to show you how to set up your Zoom driver's ed teen parent meetings. So first thing you got to do is you want to log into Zoom, and then you want to schedule a meeting. So you can either hit schedule a meeting up here, or you can see the tab where it says schedule a meeting. So you click there, and then you're going to want to give your meeting a title, and then maybe a little description. Uh, this is where you'll add in the date and the time. And then duration, I usually go with 2 hours. It should not kick you out if you were to having to go over the 2 hours, but I would set it at 2 hours. And then obviously we're going to have Eastern time zone. It's not going to be a recurring meeting because you're going to have different dates. And then it will generate your own personal ID because the way a student and parent can get into the meeting is through the personal ID number and then type in the password, or they can click the link that you send them and then type in the password through there. So you are going to be required to have a password for your meeting. For the host video, you can either decide to have that come on as soon as you log in, or you can have it come off. So you actually have to turn your camera on. That's personal preference, up to you. So you can just turn it on if you like. Participants video, you're most likely definitely going to want to have that on because they're required to have it on. So I just selected so it's going to be on when they join the meeting. Another thing you want to make sure you have enable join before host. We do not want that. We don't want them to join before we get in there and set up the meeting. We want to mute them when they enter. And we do want to enable a waiting room. That's important because that's how you're going to verify who you are allowing in your meeting and who is not allowed. And then if you're someone who can forget to hit the record button, you might want to check record the meeting automatically once you start logging in and getting things set up. So that's your own personal preference there. So once you've set that up, you also want to go a step further and go into the settings tab, to where we're going to get into more advanced settings for this meeting. That's going to really help you control who can do what during the meeting and make sure you're not getting Zoom bombed. So the host video I kind of already talked about. Do you want your video on and off as soon as you join? That's going to be your preference. To toggle it on, just hit it. It's blue, that means it's on. Gray, that means it's off. We already talked about we do want to have the participants video come on. Your audio type, mine's default to computer. You might have telephone here. If you do, you'll just select both of them so they can join either way. Join before host, we do not want that on. We don't want anyone joining before we're actually in the meeting. You are going to have a personal ID for your meeting that you can either make yourself or that just generate their own. I just usually have them generate it for me. You don't need to worry about these next two items. I just have those off, and you'll notice here Zoom has already gone ahead and made sure that they are requiring you to have a password anytime you set up a meeting or when you try to join a meeting. So they've already gone ahead and done that. Something that you do want to maybe unclick or turn off is the embed password invite link. So that means the link that you send to your students and parents, they would only have to click that link and it would allow them to join the meeting automatically. They would never have to actually enter that password. So just an extra security step. I've turned that off. So now when they click that link, they're also going to have to enter the password to get in too. And then, like I said, Zoom already went ahead and made this a requirement for us. Mute participants upon entry. We do want to do that just so you cuts down on background noise. You don't have to worry about if someone doesn't know how to mute or if someone's got a dog barking in the background for 30 seconds before they can figure it out. Just mute them automatically. It's a lot easier. You don't really need to have the upcoming meeting reminder because you're not putting in their email addresses into Zoom for them to send them out a reminder, so that doesn't require. It's not going to be a requirement. Now when we get into the meeting, you can have this off, required encryption for third-party endpoints. Chat, you definitely want to have on because that's how you're verifying the student's participation in the presentation with the parent. But you want to have private chat off. You don't want to allow students and parents to have a private chat with another person in the meeting. And something that is also helpful to verify your attendance and participation is auto save your chats. So if you kind of have a question like, was that person participating the entire time during our checkpoints? You can always go back and look to see if they actually participated in that chat. I have play a sound when a participant joins or leaves, because if you have someone who is joining and leaving because maybe they have a bad connection, you don't want to have a sound playing every time they do that. It's just going to be a distraction to your presentation. File transfer off as well, because you don't want a student or parent being able to send an inappropriate file through the chat. I'm not really too worried about feedback to Zoom or an end of meeting survey. And this is a personal preference to you. If you always want to have the toolbar that's up the top showing, then you'll turn always show meeting toolbar on. And now here, the screen sharing. So show Zoom windows during screen share. So when I'm screen sharing, I would also need to be able to see the participants, or whoever's helping me needs to see them. So I'm going to have that on. And you're also going to have your screen sharing on. So that's going to allow you to screen share. But it's very important that the next step, who can share? Host only. Only you. Now, if you're splitting the meeting up between you and maybe two of your colleagues, you can go in and change who the host is. So I could be the host in the beginning, and then if someone's taking over for me, I could go in and make them the host. But you do not want the participants, the parents and students, to be able to share their screen just whenever. So host only. And then you want to disable desktop or share users. You want to turn this on, because that tells them that you're the only one who can select who can share their screen. Not just anyone can do that. And then the next few you're going to have off: the annotation, the whiteboard, remote control, nonverbal feedback. That's kind of a personal preference. If you want them to be able to click on an icon and give you feedback instead of like typing, they can give you like a thumbs up if you say, "Hey, are you ready to go?" That's up to your department on what you want to do. Next thing, my mouse is going a little wonky here. Allow removed participants to rejoin. Usually the reason why you have removed someone is because they're not acting appropriately in the meeting. So most likely you're not going to have them rejoin the meeting. But if you maybe just happen to remove someone automatically and you want them to be able to get in, you can turn that on. But most of the time you're not gonna let someone who has been removed from the meeting because they're acting inappropriately to rejoin that meeting. You do want to allow them to rename themselves, because you're asking them to put in their student name, first name, and their last initial, and you also want to make sure that you're verifying that in the waiting room before you allow them in. So if they rename themselves to something inappropriate, you're not going to allow them to come in the meeting. And you also want to hide their profile picture, so just their name shows up if they do happen to turn their webcam off, because they could possibly have an inappropriate profile picture, and then that's what's going to come up when they turn that webcam off. And you don't want everyone else seeing that. You can report participants to Zoom if you would like. You're not going to need to have any breakout rooms or remote support or closed captions. You don't need anyone controlling someone else's computer. You do not need them having a virtual background. They could have an inappropriate virtual background, and then everyone sees the inappropriate virtual background. So you want to have that off. You can have off identify guest participants in the meeting in Webmore. You can also have the auto answer group chat off. All of these next few are going to be off, except when you get down to waiting room. We're going to turn the waiting room on. And then another one we're going to turn on is show a join from your browser link. That is going to help kids who may not be able to download all of the necessary software to run the Zoom application, and they're still going to be able to get into the meeting. So turn that on. Just helpful, because you don't know what type of computer system that these kids are working on, and you want to give them as much access as possible to the meeting. And then these aren't really important, the email notifications, because you're not putting their emails into this meeting scheduled meeting and then sending them an invite that way. You're actually going and sending them through Prince William County website. So this doesn't really pertain to us. And then that's pretty much it. So you can just go through the settings. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope this was helpful.